Just one big joke. It's a fucked up world. Here we are in. I ain't going nowhere.
What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the Reason Reborn, episode 56. I'm here with my co-host, Cardiacsumo. How are you doing, sir?
Doing all right, man. It's cracking, people. Hope everybody had a nice, week. I was going to say weekend, but I guess probably been a week since we saw you guys. So, cool shit.
Yeah, it has been a week. A very dry week news world. I mean, I guess not, but not as exciting. I mean, a racist won an election in Mississippi. There's a shock. Yeah, it was like water's wet.
Oh, the public hanging lady won?
Yeah.
I missed that.
Yeah, she won. It was close, but so I guess there's that. You have some progression. It's like there actually are human beings in Mississippi and not just slack jawed yokels. So sure. Good on you, Mississippi. Again, slowly catching up to the 19th century. Well, no, not 19th. I say 20th century. I'll give you more credit. I was going to say late 19th century, but you're actually getting towards the 1960s, so 20th century. Yeah, you're in there. You're firmly got your feet in the 20th century.
It feels like we celebrate depressingly low bars, because this reminds me of when Roy Moore was in the news and everybody was like, "Oh, he lost, hooray!" And I thought he lost by a weirdly small margin, considering we were talking about him touching
a handful of votes, basically, like a couple of thousand. It wasn't even. It was like the fact that this guy can say what he said, do what he do, and still come within 2,000-3,000 votes of winning is appalling.
It's like the presidential election. It shouldn't happen the way it happened. So I think you're right. There is progress there, but I feel like there's something we need to do to address a more basic problem. Because I feel like all those people that vote for them, I mean, they must understand that it's wrong. It's more like just a loyalty thing at that point. It's like they treat it like a sports game. Wow, I sound like I really want a sports game. It's like they treat it like a sport, and they have their team that they like, and fuck any other kind of logic. That's their home team, and that's who they're gonna ride with no matter what.
To go with your sports analogy, that's also the reaction of the whole positive thing. It's just like, my football team's going to play tonight, and say they lose by less than 7 points, then I could say, well, at least they're playing well enough to compete. That's cool and all, but you still fucking lost the game. So it's like no. Where's no? There's a problem, and again with the whole thing is but. What's his name? I forget the guy she was running against. He only lost by a certain amount of votes. Okay. But the fact of the matter is, someone who can be openly racist and basically as ignorant as that woman can be is still considered electable in these days and times where we should not put up with that type of behavior. It goes back to that saying I always say, it's like we've come so far, but still got so much more ways to go, because it's like, she shouldn't have won, but she got it. She slid in there. And
maybe that lends itself to the argument about Trump normalizing shitty behavior. I would like to think that most people would have understood before that we should expect politicians to behave like adults, not crazy racist adults. Things that you just wouldn't tolerate from anybody else. If you had a waitress come up to you in a restaurant and talk the way some of these people talk, you would ask to see the manager, right? It's just a level of decorum you just don't tolerate in any other walk of life but politics now.
Yeah, it clearly, which is shameful. But What else happened politically? Trump went to the G20 thing. Before that, he signed the new deal that he said is much more better than NAFTA. That's yet to be seen. I honestly think that at the end of the day, when it all said and done, it's going to be NAFTA all over again with some slight advantages to Canada and Mexico. Because that man sucks. It's like making deals. He's horrible. You guys do know this. It's like I read an article where people were lamenting over the fact that maybe that tax thing didn't turn out the way that it should have been, because now you have people being so super divisive within even the Republicans over the whole issue and how to deal with it, and not wanting to vote certain elements that they wanted and all that. So yeah, it hasn't been that heavy of a news week. Thank God we haven't seen that much of Trump. I mean, he said a couple of tweets, but it wasn't that significant to me.
He's been overseas, right? So
yeah, he's been kind of leashed a little bit.
I think the fact that we don't hear from him as much when he happens to be busy shows you how not busy he is most of the rest of the time.
Little work, for a man who tweets about how hard he's working all the time, clearly he's not, because he's fucking tweeting all the time.
He's that's how he makes the country great again, putting in all that Twitter work.
Yes. It's mind-boggling, the things that people accept with that person that you wouldn't see accepted in any other walk of life or by anybody else. But
he made it normal, right? It always hurts me to make this analogy because I'm such a big fan of this guy, but it reminded me of Eminem, where he kept hitting you with so many offensive lines one after the other that at some point you were just like he could talk about, I don't know, throwing kids off a cliff or something. You'd be like, well, that's Eminem.
True.
He kind of desensitized you to it through decades of offensive shit, for the most part.
Yeah. It's a shame that with politics in our government, we're desensitized. Like, yeah, so what if he just signed a bill that took away veterans funds or some shit like that? He's making America great again. It's like, yeah, that's not something that you just throw your hands up to, shrug your shoulders.
I think it certainly shows the limit of human psychology a little bit there, because I am certainly more desensitized, I guess. The things just don't get a stronger reaction out of me because, unfortunately, I'm somewhat used to them. Like, I know mentally that this is crazy and wrong and we shouldn't be here, but I'm used to the world we live in. Like, if your house is on fire all the time, you get kind of used to the smell of smoke, I guess.
Oh, you're like that meme of that dog sitting in the middle of the burning room. He's like, it's fine. Everything's fine. Yeah.
That is what America has become. We're that dog sitting in the fire.
Pretty much. All right, so we're going to try to get this over with by about 9:30. I don't know if we're going to have a 2-hour-long conversation, but I'm cutting us off there. Only because at the time of this recording, the debut of the Captain Marvel, the new Captain Marvel trailer is at halftime of Monday Night Football. And while I know I don't have to watch it live, Marvel's going to throw it up as soon as it airs. Sue me for wanting to actually sit and watch it. And that's a damn shame. Again, my favorite football team is playing. I have no fucking care about this game at this point because I know they're going to do something stupid like lose. That being said, I mean, they've done enough stupid stuff in their time. We won't go there, but yeah, I don't even care about the result of the game. I just want to see Captain Marvel.
I think you have the right priorities. As somebody who does not watch sports ball, I think you have the right priorities.
Yeah, no. And also the Avengers trailer coming out soon too. God damn it.
Is that also coming out? No, you said Wednesday.
Yeah, Wednesday. New the trailer for the Avengers movie. Which is crazy because if that's coming out, that means that That movie is definitely going to be out in April.
I feel like I'm not ready.
I am not either, because I feel like this is going to be one of the most emotional things I ever see. Like, seriously. How could it not be? Because look at where we're at in that story.
I just remember leaving the theater after it ended, just being like, I don't know what to do with my feelings right now. Maybe I should go punch a guy. It just did not end on a high note, to put it that way.
No, the villain won. The villain fucking like unequivocally won.
And this better not be a spoiler to anybody. Like, by now, you should have watched that shit. All right, it's like brushing your teeth.
Yeah,
you should have done
I'm
it by
sorry.
now.
That movie came out in April of 2018. We're in December 2018. You have not seen it. If you're like, backlogged on your Marvel movies, so what? That's on you. You should have watched that shit when it came out. I did. Everybody else did.
It's not one of those movies where you can just say, I'll get to it when I get to it. It's like, it was pretty much the movie, probably of the year.
Yeah. One of the biggest movies of the year. Can you think of anything movie going event that was as big, if not, or like bigger?
I don't think we've had a single movie.
Yeah.
Like, I know like Deadpool 2 did pretty good and all that stuff, but like just concept wise, it was the biggest movie of the year by far.
Yeah. So yeah. But yeah, no, Thanos pretty much wiped out half the universe and restored his home. He killed his daughter. Fucking stabbed Iron Man. Almost murdered him. I still love the fact that he stabbed Iron Man in that, because everybody was saying he's gonna die. He's gonna die. When the stab happened, I could just hear the and like, I knew it and all that. And then it's like, oh, he ain't dead. That anybody thought was going to die in that movie died. That's the funny part. Like Cap, everybody thought Cap, that was a scene of Cap getting his like ass handed to him. Oop.
I never understood that, because you're talking about that scene where he has the gauntlet over Captain America. He's like holding it back. I never saw that as particularly meaningful, like everybody else did.
No, I remember when they first showed that. One of my boys, his first tweet was like, "Man, y'all gonna maybe like go to the movies and cry because y'all about to take my man Cap out like that." I just remember myself thinking, it's like, y'all are really making this big deal about who's gonna die. It's like, I don't think anybody's going to die, or at least permadeath. Like I just had this weird feeling, and I still feel going into this next X-Men. I say X-Men. Oh my God, blasphemy! Because those movies suck. Avengers movie that I think everybody's gonna come out, with the exception of Thanos, of course. I mean, I guess if the few people who are probably dead are like Thor's people, because the Russos came out and confirmed, like, yeah, Loki's not coming back. He's dead the other day. Now, they didn't say anything about Heimdall. So, Heimdall, like...
Of course he's dead, because he has to get out of Marvel so he can be Green Lantern.
Yeah, I know. Although, wouldn't it be funny if he comes back as somebody else in the Marvel Universe? And who could he be?
Could he pull off Blade?
Nah. I don't think he could be Blade. Shit. But someone made a interesting suggestion, and I need to watch the movie to find out. But there's this guy who was in the first Purge. He was kind of like the lead. A lot of people said that his role in there was really good enough to possibly see him as Blade.
We need Blade, man. We don't got a Blade. He's a
I wish there was some lore where Blade had a son, just so we could have a Blade movie where it's Blade's son. Does Blade have a son?
I don't know. Maybe.
I think he has a daughter. I think he just has a daughter. I don't think he has a son.
I could watch that movie too. That sounds cool.
Yeah, but do that only because I just need to see Wesley Snipes come back and be Blade and just have him raise this murderous vampire child.
So like Logan, but with
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, that'd be a fun
but
dynamic.
cooler.
I mean, I could dig it, man. I'm all about it. Plus, it would be cool to like bring in the actual old Blade and just kind of connect those universes somehow.
Yeah.
That's Marvel's MO, just like take over all the other universes that are around.
I can't remember his daughter's name.
Are you looking it up?
Fallon Gray.
I feel like we need a different name. I don't approve.
I mean, they just basically use her name.
Yeah.
I mean, what are they gonna call her? Blatress?
I mean, it's hard naming derivative characters. Remember a long time we were asking what they were going to call Riri Williams.
Yeah, and they actually knocked that out the park.
They actually did. I was shocked.
Like they knocked because Ironheart is dope as fuck.
And we had a hard time with Jane Foster Thor, but then we just called her Thor. So
Yeah.
I miss her so bad.
Oh, she's gone. I'm sorry.
I feel like she'll come back. Man, fuck Odin's
No, because they kind of killed her in like the worst way though. Like they gave her a terminal disease. They didn't even give her a chance to survive. They were like, no.
But she's still alive.
Yeah. She's alive in your heart, I know.
No, she's alive.
Oh no, she is alive? Really? I thought you said she died.
And then I don't remember how she
Well,
came
then
back.
again, you know what? It's comic books. Nobody died.
I mean, she's not a superhero now.
I
She's
mean,
got the cancer. So she's like actually going through the chemo shit right now.
Oh, damn.
But the thing was, like when she was Thor, anytime she became Thor, it like cleared all the chemo stuff out of her body, so she was never getting actually treated. And now she doesn't have the hammer, so she's going through the regular cancer patient shit.
Mm.
So I like to imagine she'll come back because fuck Odin's son. I refuse to call him Thor even now.
Don't be mad at him. Come on, man. Thor's awesome.
But sorry, got off on a comic tangent because
No, but I mean, it
Fucking
segues
nerd, I
into
guess.
what we're going to be talking about because we were actually having a discussion about some comic news where Marvel apparently is working on developing a movie for a character named Shang-Chi. Apologies to all you super Marvel fans who know who Shang-Chi is. I don't know him. I just know what I've read off the wiki and what I read somewhat in the article when they just said, yeah, they're coming up with a movie for Shang-Chi and they're looking for an Asian director to possibly do it, as they already have someone writing it. I was like, okay, I don't know who he is, but so whatever. And being Cardiac, we're discussing like people's reaction as far as over the news of there possibly being an Asian director and celebrating the fact that there's going to be this Asian character coming and all of that and how people's responses are to that. And I just thought it was an interesting topic because the way that we culturally respond now to these things is quite interesting. Because I on one hand, I am the person who kind of understands. I think I'm the one who understands a bit more why people do so, while you question it more, wouldn't you say?
I guess I tend to question their intentions because I
Yeah.
do. So, for example, for me, I like seeing Miles Morales because, I grew up, like one of the characters I looked up to, I guess, was Peter Parker Spider-Man. So I like to imagine one day maybe I have kids and they look up and they see Miles Morales. Somebody probably looks something like them. I like that idea. I always get a little queasy because while growing up, I would see these characters that were black in this case, and they would just be thrown into shows as token black characters who never really offered much. They were just kind of there for the sake of being there. So I'm always a bit, I don't know what the word is here. It's always in the back of my mind when I look at articles that tend to make that the main focus point.
Yeah. And you know, there are a lot of cases where people do run with that baton way too quickly and kind of try to beat people over the head with it.
I think they're part of the reason I become so sensitive to it too, because I get so used to seeing one article after the other. You know, first black female this, first Asian male that, first half Asian, half black, first transgender. Like, and it is good to expand the diversity, but on some level, it gets a little weird to me. It's like, are you doing this just for appearances? And I think on some level, it's a mixture of it. I do think some of the intentions are good, but I do think that these entities are also businesses, and they want to benefit off of that type of shit.
Yeah, and that's where it gets kind of iffy. It's like, what's the reasoning behind you doing this? Like for me, with this character Shang-Chi, after reading some on him, I get the sense that it would make way more sense to put an Asian director, because a lot of his origin and background and his interaction within the Marvel world resides around his native land of China. He is a character from China whose father is a prominent Chinese character in the Marvel universe. Actually, is a villain, Fu Manchu. And so to me, I could see wanting to get an Asian director, because you kind of want someone who's going to have a better understanding of the culture and is not just looking at it from an analytical aspect. And it's funny because I made the joke to him about how I don't need this to be another Great Wall. A lot of people probably don't remember that movie. There was a movie a couple of years ago called The Great Wall that came out about the Great Wall of China, starring Matt Damon.
Yeah, that was pretty baller right there when they made that movie.
And it was just like the whole thing was based around some fantastical, mythical shit that had nothing to do with the history of the Great Wall. They had like all types of demons and supernatural shit, and it was just like, yo, this is a train wreck. And what are you doing, white man, during the Great Battle of the Great Wall in this shit? Where you come from?
Did they make sense of it? Or was he just like there?
I can't remember why he was there.
Because it also makes me think back to The Last Samurai.
Yeah, like The Last Samurai, there was a sense to that because they brought him to kind of help teach their armies to modernize. Like, okay.
Right, like it was part of the story. Like it wasn't just like, hey, here's a white dude. Like him being there in this foreign place was a major component to that story. Whereas you see other movies like this, it's just like, I feel like you just weren't willing to put an Asian lead. So
yeah,
you ended up with a white guy.
Honestly, I feel like they did probably try to go after some Asian leads, and they read that script and they were just like, no. Because this movie was just done. Like, set aside the Matt Damon thing, and you clearly could tell this movie was written by somebody who just gave fuck all about the history of the Great Wall or Chinese culture for that, right? They just wanted to make a cool action flick with a bunch of Asian people who can do kicks, possibly. That's what it feels like.
I can see that.
And Matt Damon in the middle, like it's like, hey, you're gonna be here with all the kung fu Asians, Matt. You're gonna be that like Gaijin, which wouldn't. I could see somebody saying, even though Gaijin is Japanese, because that's what people who are culturally insensitive do. That you did this fucking movie, and. You're gonna be here and like, I don't know what to do. Everybody's so cool and mystical and like kung fu-y. I'm just here to save the day because that's what we do. Yeah. Yeah, that was someone's heroin dream of what the Great Wall of China was like. Honestly, it was weird.
But well, it was probably announced today, and all the headlines I see have that same focus I was just talking about. First Asian superhero franchise film has Asian director, and to be fair, I do see more of the logic behind having the Asian director behind it because it's so rooted in Asian culture. If there's somehow like a white director or a black director out there that just is super into with Asian culture, fine. But
no, please don't give all. No offense to you guys, but please don't give all these like anime craze, Asian culture, like.
I guess I wouldn't count them as being really into
berserk, yeah, berserk, like black people, because you know how we are with the Asian culture. We come now.
I guess I meant like if somehow, I don't know, maybe one of their parents was, or they were raised there as part of the culture, like
right, yeah,
like somebody with an intimate understanding of it. It doesn't necessarily have to be an Asian person, but I do acknowledge that it's most likely that it would be an Asian person who has that kind of knowledge.
Right.
So
yeah,
I do
like Ryan Coogler, I love you, but you can't do this movie. This is why you do most of your movies based around Southern California, sir, because that's what you are.
So I accept that. I point that out because when we were talking, I was like, why does it have to be an Asian director? Is it because it's an Asian person? I think part of the issue is I don't know who that character is. So,
but no, I mean, they do kind of word it like, yeah, we're just trying to do an all Asian thing, and without any real context or meaning behind like why they would want to do this, other than we just want a movie with Asians done by an Asian.
I think I went and Googled it and saw some other thing that was worded very similarly. It's like Marvel on the hunt for Asian director without any real explanation of why they would do it.
Yeah.
Immediately like put me on edge. I'm like, oh my god. But hear you explain it that way does make sense of it. Because now it doesn't just feel like it's an Asian director because it's an all Asian thing.
Right. But that
like
lends to the whole like idea of the topic, like how we treat culture, and especially in social media and the news. It's like, yeah, we do live in a more liberal time. And it's great to see these things, all these firsts, like we just had an election where we had like first Somalian woman, first Muslims being elected, first Native American women being elected, a large proportion of women gaining like a number of seats that we've never seen before in history, stuff like that. It's like, yeah, all that stuff is cool, but there's a lot of like hyperbole that can make it into a very nasty thing because people, I guess people just don't know when to like quit sometimes. Like, I guess it's just human nature to go overboard with the things. I mean, and people hate to think that, but yeah, being on the liberal side of things, you can go very overboard with your assessment of how you view things and what you want. Like, sure, diversity, having more diversity in like Hollywood, I'm with it, but I'm not gonna be a like asshole and just ask you just like just make it black because we want to see black people. And you should have black people in it. Don't do that, because then you're just making a product just to try to curry favor to me. And not only that, but you're running the risk of making a shitty product in which, yeah, you'll get people to come see it because, say, it's an all-black cast, all-black Harry Potter. But if it's a shitty all-black Harry Potter, then one, you lend the argument as to why you shouldn't do these things, and reinforce those who will go on the like extreme the other way towards it as well. And two, you kind of alienate your own group because now you have this shitty example of what you want. It's like, no, want a good movie first. And if the people happen to be black in it, that's awesome. But
same feeling I get whenever we get some random movie franchise and there's inevitably somebody's like, now let's do it with an all-female cast. It's like, that doesn't feel like a real creative decision that you're making right now. Which, that's not to say that it couldn't be good. I like female teams just fine, but you can just tell it's not a good decision. They're just doing it because they want to be able to say they have an all-female cast. And one of the issues I've always had with this type of thing is that, and not just, media, like in politics too, across the board, what I see from liberals is a tendency to collapse all of what a person is into an ethnic identity or sexual orientation identity. All of a sudden, this person, who is a full person who has a variety of ideas and personality is just a Black woman or, I don't know, a gay Asian. You know what I mean? Like, they oversimplify a whole person into just this small little bucket, and it comes off backhandedly racist to me because you've just kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? You've minimized them into this one base element that you care about.
Yeah.
So even with the Shang-Chi, like, when I saw the article, I didn't really see anything really about him until near the end. I just saw things like, oh, Marvel's gonna have its first Asian dude, and it's gonna be this Asian director. And I think one of them referenced like Black Panther doing so well with Black people or whatever. And they didn't really say anything about this character until like the last 2 sentences, I think, where they explained his dad is probably a bad dude or something like that.
Yeah, no, his dad is a supervillain who actually, I think one of the stories was he was involved in House of M with Magneto. And so it's like, yeah, he's definitely a bad dude.
I've seen that before too, with like Kamala Khan, Miss Marvel, or who was it? Ironheart, I think it was, because I remember getting to this big argument when I saw Ironheart's announcement come out. For you guys who don't know, Ironheart is a I don't remember how old she is. She's a teenage Black female who's essentially
I think she's like 14, 15.
She's like the next Iron Man, essentially, following in those footsteps. And when that was first announced, I got into this big argument on Facebook about doing this type of thing I'm talking about, reducing somebody to just being a race. Because I kept seeing all these people excited, like, oh my God, we're having a Black female Iron Man. And I was like, do you guys know anything about her personality, her background? Like, more to the point, do you care? Because you're all celebrating this and it's cool. But are we getting a truly dynamic character, or are we just getting a Black chick in an Iron Man suit? Because it does matter. And I've read her comics too. She was in she was the lead character of the Invincible Iron Man series for a little while, and now I just saw a little earlier that she has an actual Ironheart comic that just started last week, I think. So I'm gonna be reading that. But that's what I tend to want to avoid, and I think that's what a lot of these liberal media outlets tend to do, is that they just keep minimizing people, characters, whatever, into races or sexes or sexual orientations. And it's gross.
Yeah, it is. And like, we were making an argument about how like the celebrating of things. I can see why the celebrating aspect of it can be horrible. Because I mentioned like with Black Panther, like, yeah, it's cool to see a Black film with all these Black characters in a positive setting and in a like great movie with a great Black director and all that. But at the same time, maybe it's just me. I wasn't moved to be going there looking like Akeem from Coming to America or anything like that. Like a lot of people were. Like a lot of people, like all of a sudden, was like, "Whoa, this is the biggest Black cultural thing." It's like, yeah, it's a big Black culture thing, but I think you guys are also kind of doing too much, especially about something that you don't really care about, other than the fact that it's Black. And I think that's the thing that bothers me about it, is that when you only care about something because it's black, to me that says that you just, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if it's something like can't say for everybody because I don't know everybody's background or history, but I just feel like there's a huge part of your life where you kind of miss a lot of other things that black people have done over these centuries that are celebratory, to where you take this movie and act like this is the coming of equality, or like we finally have made it. Like, no, I mean, it's a great moment, but
Sure.
I feel like it can get ugly. Maybe that's what it is. It just gets ugly to me. Like, it gets gross and unattractive. It's just, yeah, y'all doing too much.
It becomes obnoxious very quickly.
Yes, like the fact that someone did a Wakanda Con. Oh my god! Again, and I said this when it came out. Ain't nobody give fuck all about Black Panther except for those who read comic books. But this movie comes out, and now all of a sudden, African American culture has adopted, this character, and is using it as a symbol for them to do African American centric events. When again, you care less who the Black Panther is.
He's been around for decades. It's not like he's that obscure. Like, maybe he's not Spider-Man level of popularity, but he's been prominent enough in the comics. Part of the Illuminati, his wars with Namor and Atlantis.
If you're a black person who grew up in the 80s, you saw stuff like Defender of the Earth and all that. So you've seen Black Panther on screen. It's not there.
But that's the worrying thing about. I feel weird calling them liberals because I feel like I'm coming off as one of those right-wing maniacs. But the thing is that I don't think they ever tend to notice how obnoxious it gets. And whenever you try to call them on it, they kind of clap back and start calling you racist for even discussing that kind of thing. It's like, yeah.
Yeah, but it's like, can you not admit that you're being a little annoying and obnoxious with your behavior sometimes? Again, proud to see Black Panther, which was a predominantly black film, become the second highest. Isn't it still the second highest grossing, or is it third highest grossing movie of all time?
Maybe second. What's it behind? Like Titanic or something like that?
No, it's behind Avengers. Infinity
War. Of course it is.
It literally is behind Infinity War. Infinity War took the number one spot. But then it took it but I think Black Panther took at least number 2. Behind Titanic, and then Infinity War just came and smashed them both to death.
All right, that's fair. That's fair. And that's deserved, all right? Infinity War is a great movie. And it had Black Panther in it, so it's like there's an overlap. I hope nobody's mad at Infinity War.
But they are. And I was just about to say that. But that actually brings me to a point, because this is what happens, though, because it's like, oh, you're trying to take our shine. They just, white people just didn't want this to be... No, Infinity War is actually a great movie, and it's a better movie. I hate to say this, African Americans, Infinity War is a better movie than Black Panther. Black Panther is a great movie. Black Panther is definitely top 5 of Marvel movies all the time.
I'd be in my top 3.
Yeah, it's definitely in my top 3.
I'm trying to think. Because, the thing about the Avengers movies, that all the singular Marvel movies build toward Avengers. So they're even Black Panther.
Yeah.
It is part of the trail we've been walking in order to get to these Avenger movies. So I don't see why you can say Black Panther should have been better. Why? It's part of the Avengers story. It is part of the foundation upon which Avengers stands. So logically, it would be a disappointment if it wasn't somehow better. If one of the random superhero movies was somehow better than all of them combined, that would be kind of sad.
Yeah, because this is the set piece that they've been building for almost 20 years towards. It better fucking kick the ass out of everything they ever did, because this is why they've done all those other movies.
There's no shame in that at all. Because again, Black Panther is part of the Avengers. He's in that movie. A huge part of it takes place in Wakanda.
Like, exactly. Like the main crux of the story, like the biggest moment in the story was in Wakanda. And who was there beating the shit out of Thanos' people? Wakandans. So it's like, why are you hating?
As a matter of fact, I think that was a great shot because it's pretty much like, well, yeah, this is the only place on Earth that could really have this fight.
Yeah, because that's the most defensible place in the world. Again, you have a lot to be proud of, Black people. You have the strongest nation in the world. Why are you complaining?
I mean, yeah, that was a blatant acknowledgement right there that the U.S. could not have had this fight.
Even when they were talking about the whole thing with the, saving what's his name? Shit, I forgot his name already. The stone in his head, the knowledge stone.
Vision?
Yeah, saving Vision. Who stepped up and was like, yo, I know how to do this. And then they were like, we tried. She's like, oh, well, that was admirable. Let me show you how to do this. Again, African Americans. They let African Americans be like, take huge roles in this movie. Shuri was the smartest person in the room. Period.
Sure.
It's like, I don't like, but people, of course, took that slight because, oh, they just wanted it to be better. No. Well, yeah, they did want it to be better because this was supposed to be their best movie, not because they wanted to beat Black people. Because this was the culmination of all their hard work. It was supposed to be like that moment, like just like the first Avengers. That was the culmination of their first, 5 or 6 years of putting this together, reorganizing everything and getting everybody in place for this huge event where you see them all together. It's like, oh my God, this is great.
It would be like getting mad that Avengers is better than Iron Man.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly. It's like, yo, seeing fucking, Okoye and like Black Widow tag team in that bitch, like it just like wrecking them. You weren't happy with that? Or were you mad that the white girl had to get a couple of licks in? Like, seriously. Sometimes y'all go way too far.
You could have justified not having Okoye have moments like that because she's not an Avenger.
She's not a...
And as much respect as I have for the character, she's not like a super prominent...
No, she's not. She's not an Avenger.
They did not have to get
She's a Cyro. M'Baku over there like wrecking half the field. He was originally a villain that they call 8-Man, but they evolved him into a reputable, inspirational character. Not only that, he got off in that movie too. And he's not even he was supposed to be like just an ancillary character in Black Panther. He wasn't even a focal character in Black Panther. He just was that dude who showed up, challenged T'Challa, and then in the end he decided, you know what, I'll make peace with you. He wasn't like he wasn't that big in that movie.
They did not owe you moments like that. Especially with all the characters they had to work with, like they did not owe us moments like that.
But even then, it's like you want to take it from there, fine. Fucking Falcon and War Machine tag team, they were the fucking they controlled the battlefield. They were the masterminds they were the spotters. They were the air support. They were a huge prominent role in that battle. They cleared places. Marvel owes you nothing in any of these characters, yet Marvel has always been perpetually good at giving every character something significant to do and to make them feel like they actually matter in this world. And this is especially true of the minority characters.
Sure. Nice to see War Machine back on his feet. I don't know if we ever mentioned that when we did he got his head,
because he was fucked up.
Yes. I just thought he was going to be fucked up forever, but it's nice to see him exploding the world, I guess, because he was unloading. Holy shit.
Yeah, no, man. I mean, it wasn't intentional, so let's not act like. But yeah, he got fucked up.
I know. There's like 50 characters in that goddamn movie.
Yeah, no, you had a ton, and again, nobody did not get a moment or get any recognition, including, like we said, the fucking sidekicks to the main people. There's no reason why we should really have cared that much about Scarlet Witch and Vision. But we do. We did.
Random side note. What's that woman's name? Lupita? She is gorgeous. I just wanted to say that.
Yeah, she is. Lupita Nyong'o. Oh no, she's like beautiful. Like she is ridiculously beautiful.
We're just talking about Black Panther just now, and like I remember scrolling through Facebook and seeing something like, "Who the? Oh yeah, it's her again!" Like, oh my.
Yeah, no, she's fucking like, goddamn.
I don't mean like in a pervy like she's hot kind of way, like just really.
No, like
elegant.
she's like one of those people that you look at like you're one of the most beautiful people in the world. So,
I throw elegant out there. I don't know like what they were doing with the camera to make this happen, but it was like, what is this? I didn't know what it was.
Always like that in any role she plays. It's like she stands out because she's a very beautiful woman.
And in
Mind
both
you,
movies.
you know, I still hold my heart for, Danny, but it's okay.
But yeah, so I mean, with Marvel's track record, I do trust them more than if I saw another movie acting like this, I'd be more grossed out. Like Marvel has earned a certain amount of trust in me at this point. It's something I find confusing, at least.
Yeah, but I mean, it goes to like also the gross side of it. Like, oddly enough, we're using nerd stuff to make our points. Good point would be, what is this Birds of Prey shit going to be?
Are we doing it?
Yeah, they are. Remember, they're doing the TV show, and then they're going to do the Harley Quinn. They're going to do the movie. Where it's basically, I forget, it's a ridiculous name because it's something like Birds of Prey featuring the something Harley Quinn.
So I was about to ask, like, Harley Quinn isn't one of the Birds of Prey.
No, but they made her because
she just got over that will in the movie. In Suicide Squad or whatever?
Yeah. Okay, here's the name of it. It's called Birds of Prey and the Fantabulous Emancipation of One Harley Quinn.
What's not?
Sir, I'm about to send you the article. Yes, that is the official movie title. And I feel kind of bad I'm doing this.
Emancipation. Come on. That's just like I like how like the subtitle or whatever it is here says it's all about Harley Quinn. That's what it feels like.
Yeah.
So okay. I'm sure it'll be a great movie. Question mark? Probably will be. I'm just thinking like, because I haven't read anything about this, but do we have any of the other characters that are supposed to be part of the Birds of Prey?
If you scroll down, you can see they've already been casted. So Mary Elizabeth Winstead is going to be Huntress. Odd choice. Journey Smollett Bell is going to be Black Canary. And then Rosie Perez, of course, is going to be Renee Montoya.
Do we not have like? Maybe it's my fault for thinking of Batgirl as part of it.
Yeah, you would think that Oracle would be since she is, but Oracle ain't.
That's disappointing.
Very.
Although my original point was like, does the DCU have
Gregor's going to play Black Mask. That's interesting. I didn't know that part.
Like none of these women have showed up in one of the previous movies before, right?
Oh yeah, Cassandra Cain's going to be in it. I forgot. That's probably why you don't see.
So we're getting Batwoman.
You're getting Batgirl.
I don't like Batwoman.
You're getting the murderous Batgirl, Cassandra Cain.
I don't like her, even though she's a redhead, I guess. But I don't like it. But I don't. It just feels like another instance of DC not following the proper Marvel route and really building the foundation to this universe.
Yeah, but more to the point, it's like I feel like they're just trying to throw this Power Girl movie up on the plate just because, like, see, we doing all women because there's no rhyme or reason as to why this shit exists.
At least
not in their universe. Yeah, at this point in their universe, no. Like again, if you tell me they're officially doing the Black Widow movie, I totally understand that. If you've established that character. enough, and you can build
Yeah,
her.
definitely. At this point, you've definitely just like, because if you would have just like started out, I would have been like, why are you making a movie with Black Widow? But at this point, her stock's been raised. I get it.
Yeah, like there's few people I would say like you can do Wonder Woman movies with because Wonder Woman is prominent enough. That being said, I would like to see more female lead movies, but hey, wait, we're getting Captain Marvel, which makes sense in the world because Captain Marvel is actually going to play a significant role. Again, it's the way you do it and the way you introduce it. Like we could celebrate these things, but don't do it as a gross like fit in for trying to get attention. Whereas I feel like, go ahead.
They've taken the time to at least build Captain Marvel. Like in the comics, I mean, like she's far more prominent nowadays than she was maybe 10 years or so when she was Miss Marvel still.
Yeah.
Like when you looked at Civil War 2, like she was one of the two, leaders. Original Civil War, you had, Iron Man and Captain America kind of beefing. Civil War 2 was Iron Man and Captain Marvel. I probably shouldn't bring that up because a lot of people didn't like that story. But my point is, Marvel has gone out of their way to kind of raise her stock over the last few years. And now they're doing the movie, whereas, so it feels less gross to me because it's not like they just came out of nowhere. It's like, let's have a woman lead a movie. Captain Marvel has been prominent enough for at least like 5 years.
Yeah, it's just like going back to the whole Riri Williams thing. A lot of people are wholly upset at that and like, oh my God, liberals are trying to the social justice warriors were trying to force it on it. But if you go back and look over like the history of how Marvel did it, it wasn't forced upon you. It was they actually did it pretty well. Or same thing with Jane Foster. People felt like that was forced, but it's like no. What's his name was gone, and they were replacing him temporarily, which they've done before. That's the funny thing about that is that it wasn't the first time that the original Thor had actually disappeared off the map, and they replaced him with something or someone else. I say something because Beta Ray Bill, I don't know what he is.
He's a boss. That's what he is.
I mean, this is true.
You don't fuck with Stormbreaker.
Yo, they fucking gave the Stormbreaker. I know they had to give you fits in Infinity War. The fact that like Odin's son was the holder of Stormbreaker.
I remember like my heart, I felt like a pit in my stomach for him when I saw that they were making that. I'm like, they did not just fucking do that. Because I think around that time I was still reading Jane Foster Thor line. And I don't know if I'm remembering right, but that might have been around the time she died. It was either then or Ragnarok. Because I remember going into the movie like being pissed already at the start.
I think she died right before Infinity War. Because I feel like it was early this year. And Ragnarok came out late last year.
The point is, fuck Odinson. But I think part of the reason a lot of the fan base got mad is because they felt like, and maybe they have a little point to this, they removed a lot of those characters like at the same time. Like they took Tony Stark off the board and replaced him with Riri Williams. Essentially, they took Captain America off, and we had Sam Wilson, Falcon, as Captain America. Bruce Banner was like dead, so you sort of had Amadeus Cho there. I don't know what Peter Parker was doing. I guess he was still being Spider-Man. I don't know. A point is like they took a lot of them.
Mary Jane.
Probably. I think it was that they took so many of them off the board simultaneously to replace with a more diverse cast. So I can see why that would look bad. Now, personally, I think a lot of those stories are great. Thor was another example. I loved, Jane Foster Thor. I like Riri Williams. I like Miles Morales, sort of. His stories got kind of weird for me, but I can see why it would look odd that all the white men just suddenly got put on the shelf out of nowhere. So maybe they could have done a little better job with some pacing there. I don't know.
It would have been like talked about anyway. Because I mean, to the point, Captain Marvel still exists in a world where you have Kamala Khan, and people weren't that agreeable with Kamala Khan either.
like the Riri Williams thing, I think could have been handled a bit better because he got like Tony Stark got taken off the board like right when she started building her suit. So he had this weird thing where like she didn't really have that much of a mentor, and they kind of corrected for that by having like a Tony Stark AI do it, and it's like this feels like weird timing because you have Tony Stark but you don't. I don't know. I don't agree that they handle that part of it that well. Like,
but I think that makes it hopeful for like eventually Robert Downey Jr. is leaving, y'all. You know that, right? Okay, calm down. So, but he can kind of come back when they decide to bring the Iron Man character sort of back, or if they introduce Riri, he can do what he's doing in the Spider-Man movie. Show up and be like, "Hey, I'm gonna kind of help you a bit here.
Sure,
make sure you're okay and get your footing."
It has to be a nice balance, right? Like, they can't.
Oh, I just thought about something that they may do. They may do the Iron Man core after, because I mean, you have Rhodey, and you already know he has all the suits for it.
Sure.
They actually could do the Iron Man core. I mean, Iron Man 3 told you that he has Iron Man core anyway.
I'm curious to see what they do. But I think that's an interesting point is that I wonder what Marvel's plan is for introducing this like younger group of them.
Like I was saying to you guys when we did our spoilers for the Infinity War movie, I think they have a great opportunity with the acquisition of the Fox properties to kind of just sit back on the people that we already know, with the exception of whoever you're going to keep around, and kind of start using Phase 4 as a time to reintroduce X-Men and Fantastic Four and things like that, you know. And you let them have their own run to build up to Galactus for their phases, you know?
You mean actually do Galactus right this time?
Yeah, instead of the cloud. Oh my God, it's a storm coming. Jesus Christ, it's going to kill us. The rain. Acid rain.
She was fantastic.
And then get Silver Surfer right too. God damn
it. Even with Silver Surfer, I still didn't realize that was supposed to be Galactus.
Yeah, no.
I feel like a huge nerd for even laughing at that, but like, I don't know. I do think that is enough new shit, but I still think it's a bit of a challenge to bring in this newer group because they don't have a real history in the comics yet. Like, most of them haven't existed until like the last few years.
No, but yeah, that's why I was saying, like, transition with the X-Men stuff, and then you can kind of use that to buffer these guys.
Oh, okay, I see. I thought you meant have the like X-Men and Fantastic Four at the same time as you bring these new kids into
no, use them as the like transition and period. Like, okay, we got these guys in the mix, and then such and such might show up somewhere along the line, you know, as they rebuild the Avengers. Of course, some people are going to take slots, and they can slowly feed them in while they're focusing on the Galactus thing. Like, you know, this is happening with this part of the world too.
Okay, makes sense. Plus, that would give the comics some more time to like write more stories for these people, because I heard her first comic just started. Like, the first one by her name, I should say. So
yeah,
Miles is probably the oldest of that batch, but even him, what was it, 2014 or something like that?
Right. But no, you can definitely like transition and establish these guys a lot better. Give them their like get their feet grounded, because you got these big properties that people are going to be paying attention to. Whereas if they show up, because like a lot of that stuff a lot of Marvel stuff is always intertwined anyway, so it would make sense. So, sure. But
to hop back on that cultural reaction shit for a sec. I don't remember when it was. I was watching like one of those WWE shows, and you know, one of the female wrestlers was talking about As a matter of fact, it might have been like an interview or something, but they were talking about how, women main evented like either some show or pay-per-view that week. And the interviewer was asking them about it, and they were like, it's weird how like we have these main events with women in them and nobody really questions it anymore. It's just kind of normal that women can main event shows. And her point was like, yeah, that's how it should be. Like we shouldn't always have to make a big deal about women main eventing stuff. The goal should be that it's just normal. Like we're not women wrestlers, we're wrestlers too, right? So it shouldn't matter. And I think that's what I would like for the shared vision to be, where I get that it's good that we're expanding, these universes, we're seeing more points of view, we're having more diversity. But it shouldn't be the case that every single time this happens, it's like breaking news, it's this giant thing, especially given the granularity which we're talking about, because you'll see, I don't know, first woman from Cairo in U.S. office. Like, are we going to do this for every single country, every combination, every...
Right.
At some point, we have to kind of, if not stop, at least chill out a bit. Because how should I put this? I feel like the excitement people always have for it every time is backfiring, because it's making it seem like it's not normal, and it should be. It isn't normal, but I think we want it to be normal, and making a huge deal out of it all the time is making it feel not normal.
Yeah, and I agree. That's part of my thing. Like we talked about this with the elections and there's a couple of other things where I've said that too. It's like I'm cool with all these firsts, but I hate the fact that we're still in the point where we having these firsts and where we're having these reactions, because it's like we should be over this by now. Like we should. Time should have progressed in a way. Time and society should have progressed in a way where it should be just like, yeah, women can be in Congress. Oh, yeah. So what? You're Muslim. You can be a Muslim American. Things like that. Like, it should have been.
Trump normalizes being an asshole. We should just treat this stuff like it's normal so that it will be normal.
Yeah. It'd be nice because, and it's not just like the movies thing. It's like I thought about while we were having that discussion. I got reminded of The Last of Us 2 and the reaction about like Elle being the main character of it. People are like, oh my God, of course they're gonna put a woman because that's all they want to do now, and things like that. It's like, no, it's actually the logical step in that story. Joel's old.
He was old when that shit started.
He was already old. And you assume that if they survive, Elle grows up to be a grown woman to be able to handle her own. Because Joe taught her how to be a murderous son of a bitch. So yeah, she should be out there wrecking people to death. I don't get I didn't get it. Like, it's like, yeah, this is one of the main reasons why we like The Last of Us. Her. Like, what are you talking about? But people were like incensed and screaming the social justice warrior bullshit they always do. Which, by the way, could someone really explain to me what type of derogatory term that is?
What do you mean?
To be a social justice warrior.
Oh.
Why is being someone who fights for justice in society a bad thing to be known as?
It's not the smartest of names.
Yeah, it's always confused me because it's just like, yo, I feel like I should be saying thank you if you call me that, because, yeah.
I mean, I get the type of person they're normally railing against, and those people are kind of annoying, but you could probably come up with a more derogatory name for them, sure.
But I mean,
something that doesn't sound like a compliment, yeah.
Yeah, but while it was rooted in maybe the people who were like to the extreme and do things a little like far-fetched, it's like the term libtards or, liberals nowadays. Yeah, you were kind of throwing it out there, throwing shade towards people who you felt were going too far, but now you use it for everybody who doesn't agree with your sensibilities, and it makes no sense because calling me a liberal don't hurt my feelings, because yeah, I do have liberal sensibilities where I do want equality, and I'm tolerant of other cultures, races, genders, things like that. I'm a live and let live person. Gee, thank you for calling me that. I mean, why am I supposed to feel bad that you're calling me a liberal? Same thing with social justice warrior.
I think it's weird because earlier in this conversation, I hesitated to use the word liberal so much, and I realize now it's because they use it so often in a way that's supposed to be offensive that it kind of feels offensive in my mouth.
You kind of want to shy away from it because you feel like if you establish yourself as such, then here comes the rain, and you're not, and you feel like you're being pegged as someone whose ideology is at an extremely annoying level when it's really not.
Well, I hesitated to use it personally because it made me feel like I was one of the people on the right, because they use it in such a way of attack it, trying to be insulting all the time. So I feel like if I even use the term, that makes me sound like I'm one of them, which I'm generally not. I'm pretty progressive, like I have a lot of the same sensibilities you do. So I think that's a weird thing about how that term has been kind of stained, where I almost feel like I can't use it because the only people that really use it are usually using it to insult people. Like, liberal people don't usually refer to themselves as liberal like that, or each other with that particular word. So that's why I hesitated to use it, because the only people you really hear it from are those people on the right who also use terms like libtard, snowflake, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So ironically, they kind of like own that word because they're the only ones that really use it.
Thinking back to the social justice warrior thing, nobody goes around calling themselves social justice warriors. It's kind of a like you just do what you feel is right type of thing. And the labels it's weird how the labels always come from people who don't understand or have an issue with it. It's like I feel like conservatives are very, very proud of the term conservative. And it's like, okay.
That is an interesting difference. Like, they own terms like that, and we never really use them.
Yeah, no.
Which is part of the problem, in a way, because they get to use them. So when I kept hesitating around the word liberals, it's like, I don't really know what else to call them/us. But that doesn't feel like the right word because they the conservatives, I guess, kind of own it through their obsessive use of it.
Yeah.
They're great at branding.
Yeah, definitely.
But I mean, you're always going to have those people who are going to bitch about, a woman taking over in a video game, for example. But I do think some of us libtards can ease up a bit, because some of that sentiment on the right is correct. Some of it is really obnoxious to like extreme degrees. And that's part of the problem, is because personally, I see so much of this over-the-top attitude in social media that, I can see why people on the right are getting sick of it. It really is genuinely obnoxious. I think the people on the right are going overboard. I think they might be thinking that sentiment is more popular than it really is, but some of that is on us. Like, we can't be obnoxious all the time and then be surprised when we get called obnoxious.
Yeah, no, very true. Very, very true. It's a fascinating thing, because it's like I find myself kind of trying to withdraw myself from those conversations more and more, because it's like sometimes I just want to enjoy things. It's like, why do I have to always have a running fight over something? I like, kind of like to the point I was making to you about the whole thing with the Shang-Chi guy. It's like, I'm not even focused on the conversation people are having. It's like, I just want to know, is this guy a cool character? Because if he's lame, I can give a fuck whether he's black, Chinese, white, whatever. if it's whack, I'm not going to care about him anyway, and I'm not going to sit here and support something just because it's a person of color. And that's one thing that really irks me too. It's like everybody's like, you should just support sport. No, I shouldn't. Not if it's gonna be some shit. Like, because if I want to support, me saying that is like saying I should support Tekashi 6ix9ine, even though he's a fucking idiot. He got himself arrested by the FBI, but he's a person of color, so I should support him. Well, like I know this is gonna sound blasphemous to a lot of people, but like supporting Meek Mills as like this now champion of social justice, for prison reform and stuff like that. It's like, I get it. Yeah, the system's fucked up, but you also fucked up yourself. You got to acknowledge that part. You didn't have to violate your parole.
Sure. I think, I guess if you didn't see so many of these headlines floating around, like, hey, we got an Asian guy finally, it would spark less of that conversation.
Yeah.
I feel like if I wasn't mentally primed by seeing those headlines start flying out, I would have been like, who the fuck is this guy and why are we doing this? Because I think part of the difference was when I saw him, I was not interested at all. Like, this looks like the most generic dude I've seen so far. Which made me more questioning because I was like, so why are we really doing this? Like, who the fuck is this dude? I need a trailer right now.
Right.
Explain this to me.
You're going to eat your words when the master of Kung Fu ends up being awesome.
But that's the thing. Like, I'm sure that movie's going to be good. Like, I don't really have any. I stopped questioning quality after Ant-Man. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's funny because that is the movie with Marvel, because I remember the Ant-Man drama when the original director, he left in the fit of drama. I was like, oh shit, this is gonna be the first time Marvel like seriously fucks up since they started this whole universe run. And it's like, yo, this is a good ass movie. And it's like, okay, Ant-Man and Wasp was like, okay, the first one was a surprise. This one's not gonna be all that good, And I'm not saying it's like the greatest thing ever on earth, but Ant-Man and Wasp was pretty damn solid. Like,
I think it was exactly what it's supposed to be, right? It was a fun kind of light movie, especially after the horror of Infinity.
I know. It's like to get the taste and stench of death and decay.
Because I mean, that's what in the comics, not everything is as dark as Batman. You know what I mean? Like, some things are more cheery, like She-Hulk. Or I think it was called Hulk.
Yo, I swear they need to, like, again, call me a social justice warrior for this, but that's a movie I need to see, a She-Hulk. Or a She-Hulk TV show. I would actually prefer a She-Hulk TV show.
I think you could do it. It's nice, and I mean, there's serious-ish stuff there, but like, I should put it. It might be a little hard to translate for people who haven't looked at the comics, but like, even the difference between like art styles and stuff. Like, some comics just feel more light and breezy because of the story and the way the art style is more light and bubbly.
She's like a 7-foot, can't turn any other color but green lawyer who can rip your arms out of your socket like she was tearing tissue. That's some hilarious shit right there. Sorry, you can't be that serious with some shit like that, because that's the thing that makes it so great. She continues to be the person she's always been, even though she's a superhero. It's like, I'm not giving him a fucking job because I got superpowers. No.
That's
I'm gonna function as a normal human being, even though when she says objection and smash the table, she's actually breaking the table into like dust. It's fine.
Yeah, I think it's fun. But I think to your point, I think the only reason we have a conversation.
She-Hulk too. Damn, perfect casting. I know. I forget her name, but she plays Brianna Tarth on Game of Thrones.
I don't watch it, so I can't.
I'm gonna look her up while you go ahead and talk.
Oh, I was just saying, like, it seems like the main reason we had this conversation is, I hate to say it like this again, but because of the more liberal reactions from the media, where they made this whole race thing such a focus point. Because otherwise, it would have just been like, well, here's another movie. I would probably not have been interested, but I think my reaction would have been weaker to it had the very conversation not started out with the fact that he's Asian. Like the first words in these headlines are, I probably have to go back to that article, but they're essentially focused on the racial aspect. And that's why I say, you know, when I said liberals can't be annoying all the time and then expect, you know, be surprised when we get called out for being annoying. It's like, I don't think we can keep triggering these conversations and then be surprised when we have to have them. Especially in unnecessary instances like these. Like, it could have just been like a cool little fact that there was going to be an Asian character. It didn't have to be the focal point.
Oh yeah, I keep forgetting she's Captain Phasma too. Now, what makes her unique, you're probably saying, I don't know why, but what makes her is like, she's a former model, and she's 6'3".
Nah, I feel it. It works.
She worked perfectly.
Put some green on her face and send her out.
Yeah, just all you gotta do is just have the long black wig and the green.
Brown wig. Whatever hair color it is.
Brunette, sorry.
Gotta get it right, man. Otherwise, all the you think those conservative people are bad. You should see comic fans during.
Oh my god, shit. Nerds are just the worst.
They are the
I'm sorry. As a nerd, I mean, who is a sensible one, I gotta tell you, a lot of y'all nerds make no goddamn fucking sense.
I like to think that they're getting better, but I think it's just that I'm paying a little less attention because, like, oh my God.
They're the easiest people to get tilted. Like, oh
but the thing is, they should be the most understanding, because in comics we have alternate universes, different timelines. Like, we have a lot of shit that we just kind of put up with all the time.
Yeah, I love how, like, the argument for a lot of stuff when people adapt, especially adapt comic books, is to get it right. And in some cases, I do agree. Like that last Fantastic Four movie, yeah, no.
That was ass. Oh my God.
No, that was just like poor. That's a perfect example of you trying to, like, actually artificially push the diversity envelope. On top of that, enveloping it in a poorly written story in a poorly executed movie. Like, that's the trifecta that I'm talking about that I hate when it comes to diversity in, like, media. Fantastic Four, the last one with Michael B. Jordan, is the perfect example, hands down. That was just dumb. That was just, like, blatantly trying to push the whole, like, we're diverse, yay. Well, you should come watch our movie. No, I don't want to see your shit movie.
I thought shit about that Galactus stuff, but those movies were way better than that.
Yeah, no. I would watch the Silver Surfer movie 10 times before I watch that movie again.
But yeah, I think.
Oh my God, they're hyping it. Sorry, I got the football game in the background, and they keep showing, like, coming up the trailer from Captain Marvel. We're just in the first quarter. God damn it! Hurry up and play game faster.
I think the interesting thing is, as much as I complain about some of these reactions, the thing is, I do like seeing the diversity. You know what I mean? Because I've often been accused of, like, not being on board with more diversity in movies and comics, but I do like it. I like these characters. A lot of the characters I talked about, like Kamala Khan, Miles Morales, Reed Williams, I read all their comics. You know, like, even this dude, I am more hesitant because I've never heard of him. I would say I'm slightly more interested after some of the things you described to me about him.
He's a racist. He only likes watching Asians do kung fu.
When we first started the conversation, I was thinking, like, it's kind of weird how their main point is this race thing, and of course it's an Asian doing kung fu. And I was like, I feel like what we should be shooting for. What's the name of that movie? Like Chris Pratt was in it. They were like on a spaceship, and they were the only ones like awake.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. I can't think of the name of it.
Gonna kill me. Passengers.
Yeah.
I was thinking you could have replaced one of them with like an Asian person as a lead. You know what I mean? Like in movies like that where they're just kind of people. Yeah. I don't think the Asian person has to always just know karate and shit.
No, it's just like why I made the like point, like why people got excited about Crazy Rich Asians, because like, yo, you just have a bunch of Asian people being people. Yeah. Like, guess what? The Asian people are just people.
That's why I celebrated the Black Panther thing so much. There's a lot of black people who would just happen to be black people.
Yeah.
So I feel like for all you guys who want, we need more Asian people in movies. I'm mildly interested in this Marvel one, but I don't feel like that's the one you should really like hang your hat on. Like,
yeah, no.
But you should be pushing more for like, hey, maybe if you do a Passengers too, one of them could be Asian. I don't know. Just saying.
Yeah.
But I do like seeing that shit. Generally. I weirdly feel like that has to be said.
Yeah, no, I mean, I can't wait for the days where this is just like the mundane. Like, you're not even thinking about who they are, what their culture are, race, religion, all that stuff.
I do feel like we could get there sooner.
I also live for the days where Blade is back.
I feel like we get there sooner if we didn't make this. Like, we watched WWE Evolution, right? And they made an enormous deal every 10 seconds about, the importance of this event. I just remember thinking, we've been having women main event shows like the last couple of years. And it felt normal, like it was barely noticeable, and I think that's what we want. I don't feel like you should have been shoving down our throat the fact that there's like a bunch of women here. Because you made it seem weirder than it actually was.
Yeah. Especially with some of the people who we have in the show and some of the matches. Like, yeah, we kind of see these things on a weekly basis and nobody bats an eye. So why are we now all of a sudden, it's like, oh my God, it's a bunch of women in the event all at once. I feel like it was more about them congratulating themselves. And that's the other part about the whole rush to diversity thing that I think I hate too, is that a lot of people are doing it just to be able to have the bragging rights and be like, yo, I see what we do. We did this. We're down. You know what I mean? It's like running into the white guy who says, I listen to rap too. Oh, okay. It's unnecessary for you to say. And that doesn't necessarily give you cool points either.
Probably shouldn't be patting yourself on the back every time you do something that you should always have been doing.
Yeah, it's like, what are you trying to say? Like, rap music is, you only listen to it so you can relate to black people, or it's not good music? Like, yeah, what is your purpose?
What was so unique about rap music that you had to say that?
Yeah. And
WWE is a terrible offender because they'll strut Stephanie in particular out all the time just to make these weird points about how progressive they are. And it's like, you could just have women have matches.
I kind of partially blame Stephanie for it, though, because she seems to relish the idea of saying, when I started this revolution, like, Stephanie, come on.
I would love some actual storytelling behind that, because I never understand why she comes out. Like, we don't see her for like a year, and then all of a sudden she's like the figurehead. Like,
because I feel like it's not something that she had to. I feel like this isn't like women's suffrage, where she was the wife in the house begging her husband to allow women the opportunity. I feel like it was more of like a collective thing, and like between her husband and other more forward-thinking people. Like, I don't feel like it was just like her against the world, while like she tries to make it out to be. in this manner. But
I don't
maybe
know.
that's the way Vince wants her to play it.
That's what I was thinking, because it could be the case, I guess, that she's just that huge a proponent for it, but we never really saw that on TV. They just kind of tell us that.
Yeah.
But they make a big deal of giving us this image of her. It's like, oh, we have a strong woman leader.
Yeah, it's like she's wrestling Susan B. Anthony.
And that's not to, not acknowledge anything she's done. I'm sure she's done a lot. It's just, again, if you want to give women a more prominent role, just do that without jerking yourself off every 10 seconds.
Right. Because it kind of stems as it's disingenuous, in my opinion. That's the thing. It's always disingenuous to me because you're kind of doing it just to satiate a group so they'll leave you alone, not necessarily because you really want to please your crowd and have them get all the variety in the world. It's just more of like, see, we let women wrestle. You're welcome. Or, or it's just like to say, like, look at me. I'm being progressive. Like you said, to jerk yourself off. It can be very, very gross in either direction. And with WWE, I feel like they kind of do both at the same time because that's how Vince is. Vince is a sick son of a bitch.
And with them, it's super offensive. But like outside of them, with movies or politics, even a lot of times you have to blame it on. I'm hesitant to say the media because it's not like a lot of these headlines are coming out of the top tier media sources or anything, but you see so many of them. And the thing is, should I put this? Like, I don't want to blame Marvel directly for this gross feeling I'm having because they're not the ones putting out these headlines. It's all these other media sources who decide to focus in on that type of thing, and they make a big deal of it. But I can't directly blame Marvel for that as much because they're not the one doing that. As far as I know, unless they're feeding these headlines to these people, maybe they are.
Maybe they. Nah, I don't think so because Kevin Feige doesn't strike me as that type.
But I remember when Gillum was running down here, a lot of, that weird focus about him being black. And I remember him saying at points like, I'm not running to be like a black governor, whatever. I'm running to be governor of Florida. Like,
right.
You kind of, these media sources make that the focus and then it becomes whoever's problem. Like these guys made this Asian thing the focus and now that's Marvel's burden to bear. People focus on Gillum being black and then he had to, respond to it. But he didn't really make a big deal about that himself.
Right.
So you kind of end up saddling these people with having to make stuff like that part of the discussion where they probably weren't focused on it themselves.
Yeah, and it's a shame. It is. It's definitely a shame to see that happen. But, I mean, that's how people like to do, I guess.
I remember it was one of the Miles Morales run of his comics, and he was in a fight, and his suit got damaged, and some blogger on the internet saw that he was black underneath, and so you get all this like social media stuff talking about like, oh my god, it's a black Spider-Man. Like the people in the comic were actually excited about this, but Miles himself got really pissed. Like, I don't want to be a black Spider-Man. I just want to be Spider-Man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That was a fun way to address that issue within the comic. Super meta.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like it's the intent. The funny thing is the intent is not always when the intent is not to make a point of it. It doesn't matter because people are going to make a point out of it regardless, and that's a huge problem. Yeah. It's just like while Blade is a celebrated black superhero, I don't feel like he was intentionally created to be like, hey, look at this black superhero. You know what I mean?
And then but then it becomes their cross to bear,
Right.
whether they want it or not.
Yeah.
So, a little off topic, but Michelle Obama is out here nowadays pushing her new book.
Speaking of black female superheroes.
So I was, what was I doing? I think I was in the car, like I was just listening to YouTube or something, and it came up with Stephen Colbert's interview with her because she's promoting her new book, which I'm starting to feel like I might check out. I think it's called Becoming.
Yeah, Becoming Michelle Obama. I know.
So I was listening to this interview, and I just thought to myself, I think we all took for granted the fact that we had a very charismatic president and a very charismatic first lady at the same time. That last go around.
Yeah,
I'm just watching her, and I'm like, man, like without Obama's or she's Obama too, I guess. Without Barack's presence at all, like she just stands as a figure all on her own in a way that I don't think we've seen, at least not from this presidency.
Not since Jackie Onassis, since we had a first lady and stand out. And even then, Jackie was not on this level because Michelle is much more proactive and involved. First,
I remember thinking it's interesting that I don't find it weird at all that she's just, when I see her by herself without the former president, it's not weird because she's enough of a figure on her own.
Yeah, definitely.
And the story she told us, I should send you I don't know if you watched it, I should send it to you later. She talked about how Obama proposed to her. And I'm like, man, this motherfucker's smooth as silk.
I saw it, but I never looked at it. You send it to me because I actually want to hear it. Because I would love to know how, like, he would propose. I feel like
I was hating on this motherfucker.
Yeah, I feel like he's that type of dude. Like, I feel like that's the thing. Like, if you want to hate Obama, that's what you should hate him for. Hate him for his grace. Like, because half of us would kill to, like, not half of us, 90% of us men would kill to be able to pull someone first like Michelle, you know, the personality and the looks, and to do it in the manner which this dude is able to do. Like, God damn it. I bet you talk her panties off every night.
Gross.
Like, you're just such a good orator. Jeez.
You got, I don't know, maybe it comes with being tall. He's got the confidence there. Never flip. I mean, but yeah, I think the weird thing about watching that interview was like, man, the first lady is way more charismatic than our current president.
Yeah. Yeah, and you know, it's funny that you say that because people give Trump all this credit for being such a charismatic. Like, no, he's really not. Like, his charm is in his doofiness. Like, he hams it up, but he has no charm. Like, there's nothing charming about him at all.
Yeah, I've often said he's pretty much just like a cartoon salesman, like very over the top. Every word he says has to sound like you've never seen before. You know, like, you just talk to that in a regular speech.
Yeah, he's a carny huckster.
And I think that happens to appeal to some people, but it's not extremely charismatic or anything.
No, it's... Yeah, no, he literally sounds like he's a grifter. That's it. Which is what he is. He's a grifter.
One thing that I found really interesting, I thought it was a good point that I never really thought much about. So I think Colbert had asked her, essentially his question was like, have you disagreed with the president and how did you communicate that to him, right? And before she really got into it, she said something like, it's weird how everybody thinks they can tell the president what to do. And her analogy was, you wouldn't tell your dentist what to do, but everybody feels like they know what the leader of the free world should do. I thought it was a good point to make, because you have all these people like in the business realm or other politicians or even just regular folk always saying like, this is how you should handle that war. Obviously, this is how you should handle the economy, this, that, and the other thing. I'm sure she experienced it a lot with Obama in particular, because people talk shit about him all the time. But I thought it was an interesting point to make, is that we don't really act like experts toward any other field except toward like politicians.
Yeah,
at least I never like said.
I would say we do it in everything. We do it in entertainment and sports too. I feel like when you're in a position of authority, that's where I think that's where it goes to. It's just like people always question the casting of Marvel and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like, why would you pick such and such to play this character? And then all of a sudden it works, and you're like, well, that's why they picked him. You know what I mean? Like, they clearly know what you're doing, but you're saying, no, I would pick such, this person.
I definitely see it with sports, but it does seem like there's some professions where we don't do it as much, like a doctor. Like, those people who, they're internet doctors, like they think they know what they're doing, but for the most part, you don't usually like look your doctor in the eye and tell them what to do.
Yeah, it's like if I were a physician, I would have made this type of incision on me.
I think the difference is, I think we tend to acknowledge that we don't know. Maybe that's the difference. Like in certain fields, we acknowledge that we're more ignorant.
It's not just that we acknowledge that we know that they know more than we do or anything like that, but it's the level of ease in which you perceive something to do. For some reason, being a politician is a like easily perceived thing to a lot of people. All you do is just make laws and stuff like that. It's a lot more complicated than just making up the rules, anything like that. Or like with sports and entertainment, it's like we always say, because there are things that seem attainable. I mean, I can't play like half of these athletes like this, but I can play football. So I guess because you're accessible, it feels accessible to you. You feel like you're
like you can at least understand the rules of. You probably do understand the rules of football, where it's like if you were talking to a doctor, you probably can't name most of your bones, so you wouldn't be quite as confident, because if you were to like open up like a fake body or a real cadaver, you probably couldn't identify like most of the shit in there.
Most of us would be like, what the fuck is a pancreas? Yeah.
Like, which one of these squishy things right now is the pancreas? Do humans have pancreases? Right. But like, I think the difference with politics is that we oversimplify it so much.
Yeah.
And a lot of us just think we know. Like, I look at some of that shit, I'm like, I don't really know how certain laws work. I think we were talking about one of those cases where a cop had killed somebody. And I think you were explaining that manslaughter.
Just quickly, there was the news story about what's his name? Botham, the young man in Dallas, Texas, who got murdered by an off-duty cop who came into his apartment and shot him and claimed that she thought it was her apartment and thought he was robbing her. So they've officially charged her with murder. That is the case that they indicted her on. They're going to take to court, to which I railed against, because the difference between murder and manslaughter are so specific. Whereas if they would have charged her with manslaughter, then her whole "it was a mistake, I thought it was our apartment" thing could be used to work against her, to show negligence enough to the fact that, yeah, you did commit manslaughter, because you definitely fit the definition of like, negligent murder, something that wasn't necessarily intent, but it resulted in, which is pretty much what manslaughter revolves around. It's like, yeah, you killed them, but it's not like you plotted to kill them. It's just that circumstances led to serious injury or death. Whereas charging somebody a murder means that you explicitly think that they had a motive and opportunity to execute their the like death of another human being. And that's where it gets iffy, because it's like, what is her reasoning that they're saying is why they're charging her with murder? They must have some type of concrete reason to do that, because if you don't, she's gonna get off. She's gonna get acquitted. She can't be tried again for it. And we're gonna have more outrage about how the system is just flawed. And part of the problem is because the choices that are being made in this case are being intentional or unintentional, is what mucks things up and what makes us think that all law is kind of like worthless. Because of just the simple decision between manslaughter and murder could lead to a huge another huge political and social debate on cops and the use of force and how they treat minorities. You know what I mean? Whereas, like, if smart prosecutor would have took the safer route, it may not get as many years, but you need to get a conviction, because this lady, what she did was wrong, regardless. And if you're serious about like trying to like change the image, doing simple things like that helps, because that's a more attainable goal, manslaughter.
I feel like I could see some people getting angry if they didn't go for murder, because they'd be like, so you're trying to say that this was an accident? You clearly did it on purpose. I can see some at least some misunderstandings.
I can too, but I guess that's where you should try to present things, and like how I just presented it to everybody. I wish people talked more, and I wish people listened more. Hopefully, like you guys, if you're listening to this, you could teach someone else this. So when they ask that question, you can explain it too, because I feel like that's the thing. Like certain point, again, we simplify, the law and government in this country so much, but it's like we simplify it to a way where we miss the things that are kind of explainable to people, like manslaughter versus murder, and why certain things fall apart in those situations. And then you realize that people actually paid attention to that, they'd be like happy with seeing that happen. It's like I'm happy with seeing what's happening on the football screen right now, on the TV screen with my team.
I think the simplifying can be fine, but I think the problem is that we don't tend to acknowledge that we are simplifying it, and that we don't understand these things as well as I think we assume we do. So, for example, when you sent me the message originally about that case, and I looked at the headline, I'm like, I don't quite understand what the problem is you're pointing out to, and I think we should do that more. Like I had to acknowledge that I don't really understand the law all that well. So I didn't really have much to say about it in that instance.
Yeah, no. Like our outrage screams bloody murder, but it's like if you want effective, sometimes, and that I think that's where a lot of people get muddled with politics. It's like, oh my God, you mean to tell me you guys are working with these people on this? Well, that's kind of how politics works. You're not supposed to be totally like, I can't fuck with you because you're on this side. This ain't gang warfare. You know what I mean? This ain't the Bloods versus the Crips. This is people working to govern a country full of people, and what they decide on affects millions of people. It's more than just, I'm a Republican, so I want to like lower taxes for rich people, and that's just it. Or I'm a Democrat, and I want to give gay people equal rights and make sure white people don't get like this many jobs as they already get. That's not how you boil them down, but we boil it down to that, to like such basic nonsensical things, which in some cases, some of that stuff can be true, because there are a lot of people, going back to the taxes thing, There are a lot of people who in Congress on the Republican side who lobby and have lobbied and have done tax cuts for richer people. But that's not the whole makeup of like their party or their philosophy. Or, speaking individually, not everybody is on board with that within their party. But it's dynamics that we just don't really try to like adhere to, because I feel like a lot of times if we do, then it goes beyond, being understandable, and that's where people get the fear. You know what I mean?
So I was watching I think it was the start of the season for Adam Ruins Everything, and it was an episode on the gun debate. And I thought the point he was making throughout was very well said, that both sides don't really know as much as they think they know. For example, one of the major features about the gun debate, at least over the last couple of years, has been the use of assault rifles. And I remember when I saw that this was becoming a thing, especially with all the school shootings, I was like, I mean, we can ban them, I guess, but I'm pretty certain the majority of gun deaths in this country is not due to assault rifles. It's due to handguns, which it is. Yeah. So I was always thinking, like, I'm not saying it's not worth talking about, but the fact that that conversation gets so much attention tells me that I don't think a lot of us know as much as we're acting like we know about guns or gun violence in this country. Especially speaking as a more liberal person myself, because when I see liberal people focusing on that, I'm like, I feel like that's not really the priority. I see why it gets so much attention in the media. I'm not saying it's good. You should not be able to walk into a school with an assault rifle, but if we're that concerned about gun violence in this country, I feel like we're focusing on a drop of water in a lake because it's the more noticeable kind of drop.
Yeah.
But I mean, just the main part of that was just that I feel like we'd be in a lot less of these screaming matches if we stop for a second and really ask, do we know that much about what we're talking about?
Exactly. Good.
Which seems to be actually just maybe a feature of our psychology. It seems to be like a bias we have. I don't know, there's a podcast I was listening to, and he was making the point that we tend to, by default, think we know much more than we do. And one of the thought examples was, they asked a bunch of people, do they know how a zipper works, right? And of course, a lot of them just said, yeah, like just kind of out of hand, because they use a zipper all the time, so they assume that they know how it works. But then when you actually press them and ask them to describe how it works, they suddenly realize that, this idea that they had that they actually knew how a zipper worked was more just like an illusion. They didn't really know.
Yeah, we just know a zipper works. We actually don't know how it works.
Which I thought was interesting, because when he asked that question, I'm like, how the fuck does a zipper work? I wonder if I would have said yes.
That, was like, what is the actual proper way to describe a zipper? That ran through my mind. It's like, it zips? Like, I don't know.
I feel like if I was in that group, I probably would have said, yeah, I know how a zipper works, until, you actually press me, and I'd be like, huh. I don't know. It goes up.
Like, we understand the concept, but we don't actually know the mechanics behind it.
Right. I think that's a good way to put it. With a lot of these political issues, I think we understand the general concept, which makes us more arrogant toward it than we ought to be. Because with the doctor analogy, we don't really know that much about the body off the top of our heads for most of us. So,
like, going back to the gun thing, a lot of people, that's why the argument for the gun laws always irk me, because people always say, you can't get rid of the Second Amendment because it's just about the right to bear arms. That's it. That's all people say. It's the right to bear arms. That's the way it's like. But nobody goes back and think about like the time this was created, the actual wording, like how it's the right to bear arms and to call upon a militia, like to be called upon as a militia and things like that being put into there. The fact that it was created during a time where this country was just starting and they didn't really have a standing army or a substantial standing army. So it was kind of a solution. It was kind of a like quick fix solution to, well, what if a war pops off and we need more people? Well, but this way, by letting everybody have guns, we'll lean upon their country loyalty to take up arms and help us, or to be able to like legally call to action citizens. It honestly is a like modernized conscription act. If for those who don't know what conscription is, back during like medieval times, that's what they used to do when they need to like draw upon people for an army. They would do conscriptions, and they would go out and call upon citizens or volunteer citizens to join the army and fight for them. Yeah, and I say volunteer in quotes because. But that was the point. But yeah, that was the point. It was like it gave the, government the right to try to like secure an army through, its citizenship.
It's an interesting thing on the right where they suddenly act like they're all scholars of the Constitution, because I would be surprised if many of them have really read it like that. But more to the point, it's not just reading it as it is. You need to know the history behind it. Like, I don't, as many of them reference the Constitution, I don't think that they've really taken the time to study it before. So I'd criticize the left on that, but that's an example where the right does that, where they assume they have much more knowledge about the stuff than they actually do in practice.
Right.
And we'd be a little better off if we all acknowledged that we're just dumb as fuck.
Yeah. But it's hard for people to admit ignorance of things. And I say it all the time, it's like, don't shy away from the word ignorance and be willing to use it when describing yourself, because being ignorant isn't a bad thing. It's made bad because of the way people use the term, but the truth is we are all ignorant of something. Like, I don't know everything there is about every subject. I couldn't tell you how to do your job.
Doesn't matter. I do it poorly anyway.
Yeah. Or just like, even though like somebody look at my job as a more simplistic job compared to yours, you don't know all the banking rules. You know what I mean?
Don't know. I feel like if I walked into a bank, they could take advantage of me all day. I don't know shit.
And it's funny because I see that a lot. A lot of people don't, and I see that daily on my job. A lot of people don't know basic constructs of how to perform banking, like especially since a lot of stuff has been taken out of people's hands. Like,
to be clear, I'm not like proud that I don't know shit. I'm just acknowledging.
Yeah, no, and that's the thing. You should be willing to acknowledge that, because it's like the people that I see that have no clue how to fill out a deposit slip. Like people making mistakes as simple as you didn't write your name where it says customer name. Stuff like that. But it can be a very foreign thing to people.
Yeah, I have a friend who's in banking, and like every once in a while he'll try to have a conversation with me, and he'll say, "Oh man, these stupid people, they don't know how to do blah blah blah." I'm like, I don't really know how to do that either. I barely know what you're talking about right now.
Yeah, no. Yeah. Like I would say, one of the biggest things is people don't understand like the rules of checks and when they clear and things like that. Like, we literally have people who think that they can come into a bank and just cash a check off of empty accounts.
Yeah. Not just shit, guys. I was having a conversation with somebody, I think during the Gillum thing, and we were talking about the economy and how technology is going to affect it, because I wanted to pick their brain about what they're more right-leaning, and I wanted to pick their brain about what they thought about certain technologies like self-driving cars and shit. And what struck me is that they had said something like, I know a lot about the economy and shit, like that's kind of their focus or interest, I guess. And so they just kind of started like going off on the mouth about it. I'm like, maybe you do know a lot about the economy, but I think it would be probably correct to acknowledge that I know more about technology. So like, it was just this weird thing where they felt they had this area of expertise, so that just made them able to talk about everything no matter what. And I'm like, I have an expertise too that, can contribute to the conversation.
Yeah. It's very weird. But I mean, that kind of goes back to the cultural thing too, because again, we see the part of the reason why people complain is because they feel like they know what's best for the media. Yeah. And it's like you really don't understand, do you? But okay. It's like everybody probably was like, why is Dave Bautista playing in the movie? And then he's actually one of the best like Marvel characters around.
Yeah, he's made Drax something special.
Yeah. His role in Infinity War was just so fucking great. I mean, it started in Guardians 2, but then like he just solidified it in Infinity War. Like he's just standing still eating chips and looking at them. Like I'm practicing not being seen. It's like, dude, you're munching on chips, staring at people.
But he was right though. You didn't notice him until he did that.
Yeah.
And eating the chips was the movement which caused it to happen. So
this is true. So
they can sit there. They sat there looking at him like he was crazy, but
I mean, it kind of did work because they were about to get it on unknowingly. He was just going to be there, like looking.
They had no idea until they heard the crunch. But you know, technically, the crunch.
Well, I guess he did win. He won. Yeah.
But I think he's dead now. So I guess he lost in the end. But
yeah, he was one of the people who got
Thanos.
Yeah.
That's the verb now, getting Thanos away.
Yeah, I know. It's funny, I haven't seen the Thanos meme in a while. I'm surprised.
You're going to by Wednesday.
Yeah, this is gonna come back.
They'll probably be in the reverse where they just start materializing characters as they're coming back.
Well, the funny thing is, I know they're gonna cut that trailer to where it just looks like everybody's dead, including the people who are alive. I feel like that's what the trailer's gonna be. It's like we're gonna make it. You thought it looked like Captain America and Iron Man died. Now it's really gonna look like they died. It's gonna look like they died hard.
There's gonna be some weird. There has to be some kind of the fun things they like to do in their end credits. Like they're gonna throw out the X-Men in the end credits and Fantastic Four. Something crazy like the Shi'ar Empire.
They just like show Kit Harington with claws. I would be happy.
I wait for a call to the Shi'ar Empire or something. Or maybe we've had it. I don't remember. There's a lot of Marvel.
No, you really haven't had the Shi'ar Empire, and not in like MCU proper. No.
We got to expand the cosmic landscape.
You will. Now that you have Captain Marvel too. Oh, you will.
It's gonna be sick. Oh yeah.
That's the good thing about Captain Marvel. She's such a bridge to those other characters too. Like she's gonna eventually have to run into like the X-Men because of Phoenix and all of that. Then the Nova Corps is gonna get a better role.
That's not happening.
Yeah, it will.
Until DC is
most of them are dead, I guess, because of Thanos right now. Oh shit.
They're gonna wait until DC even like whispers the words Green Lantern, and they're like, "Nah, bitch."
Yeah, no, it's like, well, you do just him while we do the whole Nova Corps.
They're waiting just to like stick it in DC's ass there. That's why it hasn't really been a big thing yet. They're just waiting for DC to have the balls to say Green Lantern.
Yeah, I know. And it's funny because if done right, Green Lantern Corps could trump that, but
they won't do it right.
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't have confidence that they would do it right because they could do that right. God damn, that would be amazing. They couldn't even do the individual Green Lantern right. Like,
we still have a good Green Lantern movie.
Nah.
But that's why you need Idris Elba.
Yeah, me.
Hal Jordan obviously doesn't work.
No, he would work if you didn't use Deadpool as Hal Jordan. Because Hal Jordan isn't necessarily a demonstrably witty guy. I think that's part of the problem. Is that you tried to make it a like comedic type thing with Ryan Reynolds, and it's like Yeah, that's not really Hal Jordan. Hal Jordan's kind of bland. You probably don't want him.
I feel like what's really going to happen is I keep saying, we want Jon Stewart. We want Jon Stewart. So it's definitely going to be Guy Gardner.
Hey, I'll take Guy.
It's not that it's bad. It's just that I just feel like they're that kind of petty.
That's fine. I'll take Guy.
Probably be Kyle Rayner though.
You know what? If DC really wants to impress me, just go batshit insane and do like all the like characters nobody really wants but probably would enjoy, because you can then just be stupid with them. Like you could be stupid with the like Blue Beetle and Booster Gold movie. You can have a nice comedy romp with that shit.
I thought you were talking about Jaime Reyes until you said Booster Gold. I'm like, oh, you're talking about Ted Core Blue Beetle.
Just have the two silly ass motherfuckers bouncing around places.
You ever read the Injustice line?
No.
They had a sad as fuck moment in that.
No. Blue Beetle killed Booster.
It was a weird moment. They both died.
Oh.
Like, Booster got to be there for, Ted's death. Because he's from the future, obviously. And he tried to stop it, I guess, but he couldn't. So he's like, all right, I'm going to be here with you when you die. And then it came back around with some weird time shit where he got to be there for Booster's death.
Oh, wow. That's pretty cruel.
I looked at that shit and I'm like, man. So I didn't really read them like back in the day or anything, but like, these two must have had a very special relationship because this was written like.
Oh no, they were the bosom buddies, like they were the John C. Reilly and Will Ferrell of comics, I would say, back in the day.
I looked at it, the way that shit was written. I was like, man, I wish I knew more about this relationship because it seemed like something. The way they felt compelled to like write this, like this must have been something special. Yeah, no, I mean they used to do everything together. Hell, they used to even chase women together. I remember when they were in the Justice League, they used to go after Ice and Fire. I bet that works out well when you're just like a beetle and a golden asshole. Yo, Beetle had like such a thing. I think Beetle had ice. And I think Booster had fire, which is the funny part. Ah, shit. Yeah. DC, I need you to step your movie game up, dog. It can't just be Marvel. Yeah, I do. Speaking of Marvel, we're getting close to halftime. That means that we should be closing this show out. Again, thank you to everybody. Appreciate you guys for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed this episode. And let us know what your opinions are. Feel free to hit us up. Email us, tweet at us. All that information is in the description. I feel like I need to do a reaction video. I don't do reaction videos, but I feel like I should start doing them for the stuff I like, just to geek shit. Not just to be doing reaction videos to do reaction videos, but like react to this trailer. Because I'm so not ready for this. I'm hyped. This shouldn't be your first reaction video. Like I feel like you shouldn't cry in your first reaction video. Well, it wouldn't be for Captain Marvel. I'm talking about this one. Now, if it were for the Avengers Infinity War, that would probably be. Yes, I'm sorry. Oh my god! I got them mixed up. I can't believe it. Because I wanted to cry at Infinity War. Fucking Spider-Man scene. God damn it. Infinity War still bothers me. I can't watch that scene. That bothers me. Infinity War is Wednesday. This one's Captain Marvel. Fucked up again. All right. Yeah. And then we'll probably get another trailer from them in late January, early February, because the Disney thing, their convention should be coming up around then, and that's probably when we get Phase 4 shit. And like, bam, we got Blade back. I'm like, oh, we probably could have talked about that too, since we had a conversation about Disney's service versus DC's, but we could say that for next time. Yeah, because it's coming up soon. Disney's
service should be coming up soon, and I can't wait.
I remember having a lot of bitching about that. So
yeah, it's fine. I
mean,
just can't wait for them to come and destroy DC, but we can save that for another conversation. Since it's getting towards the holidays, I feel like we should try to lighten the load and not be too heavily with the like.
That'll be our holiday gift.
Yeah.
Well, we'll argue about other shit.
Exactly. Instead of like complaining about Trump's dumbass. He'll probably cancel Christmas anyway, so.
He'll probably go take a shit on the border over Christmas Eve.
He's like, I don't abide by any holiday that is associated with Jews. This is a Christian country.
And with that, we should close up.
Oh, that's what he would say. You fucking asshole. Anyway, again, we thank you guys for watching. Appreciate you. Do you have any suggestions for books? Just tell people to read comics.
Read comics, guys. They're fucking great.
Exactly. Except for ones that break Batman's heart. Those aren't great.
That dude is getting his heart kicked in the balls all day long.
So mean.
Read Immortal Hulk. That shit is dark.
Oh, yeah. Because he showed me some panels from that. Yeah. Good Lord.
You guys catch up on the Immortal Hulk run.
Think about a Hulk without any scruples or conscience at all. Just off the chain and no inhibitions.
That'll be
no inhibitions at all.
Immortal Hulk. Read it, guys. It is scary. I was gonna say fun, but scary.
He buried that guy anyway. Jesus Christ. That was horrible. Yeah. So do that. All right, we're out of here. See you guys next time on the Reason Reborn. Jesus.